The heavyweight showdown is set. Anthony Joshua, former unified champion, squares off against the knockout king Francis Ngannou on March 8th in Saudi Arabia. Let's hear what the boxing world is saying about this epic clash. Eddie Hearn acknowledges the excitement of the fight, but expresses concern about the potential risks for Anthony Joshua. Eddie stated, "It's definitely a fight with a lot of jeopardy. You really have to be on your guard for this fight. You've got to be razor sharp. Francis has surprised everybody. He's one stubborn competitor, and it's not going to be easy. You'll have to knock him down and keep banging and banging and banging away. This isn't going to be one hit on the chin. Clearly, he's an immovable object with a fantastic chin and big power. You've got to be really smart in this fight. Don't get hit. Break him down, and hopefully he'll go over like a big tower and we can just move on." Seeing potential in Francis' style against Joshua, Dan Hardy has surprisingly thrown his support to Francis, and he stated, "This is the benefit of AJ going second. There isn't a surprise factor around Ngannou. Of course, you have to expect him to have made improvements, but the big surprise was how he was going to look the first time. AJ knows that now. The other thing as well, AJ is not going to show up halfway through a training camp not fully prepared. I thought Tyson was going to do the last one, and I still feel like Ngannou won that fight. I feel like it's a much more winnable fight for Ngannou, and I'm going to back him in this one." PFL Chief Executive Peter Murray believes that Francis Ngannou is capable of defeating Anthony Joshua. Murray stated, "Everybody underestimated Francis with Tyson, including Tyson. So I think Francis has been training constantly. He certainly won the crowd and the fan base around the world, and many would say, including me, he won that fight. But he's on a mission, and I would not underestimate the big fella against AJ. It's going to be a massive event. We're excited for him, and we'll obviously be in his corner. Can he win? I believe he can. Francis is only going to get better in his second showing, so I think it's on. It'll be a really fun event to watch. He's the #1 heavyweight MMA champion in the world. He's taken on boxing, his pro boxing career, his first event against one of the best in the world, and now his second event against one of the very best in the world. So, that's always been part of Francis's vision in this stage of his career, and we're proud of him. Couldn't be more excited for him." Frank Warren discusses Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou, and he thinks that it's a jeopardy fight for AJ.
It's quite an intriguing fight, isn't it? I mean, it's a jeopardy fight for AJ, I think, in as much that, did he need to fight this guy? It's a win-win for Ngannou. He come off of a loss against Tyson and put up a tremendous performance against a Tyson, by the way. I didn't think Tyson was his best, but having said that, he more than surpassed what anybody thought he would do. The expectation level proved everybody wrong, and proved that he deserves a shot at the big guys, and he's now in with probably the the third or fourth best heavyweight in the world in his next fight.
Dewey Cooper really believes that Francis is going to shock the world for a second time when he faces Anthony, and Dewey stated, "Tyson Fury was yelling at Francis Ngannou too. We were very much prepared for this fight. We worked hard. Francis came up in the same mind as Cameroonian. We put the same work ethic into our training camp. We worked so hard that if you don't work hard at the level, you will not be successful. Francis is working extremely hard for this fight, and come March 8th, it will all show." Anthony Joshua, an Olympic gold medalist, won 3 fights in 2023, on the upswing in his career right now, and that is even good for the fight in Saudi Arabia. Francis, also a former UFC heavyweight champion, stepped into the ring against Tyson Fury in his first boxing fight and took him to the canvas, but the 2 judges voted against Francis. Fighting against Anthony Joshua, a former heavyweight champion, does not matter to Francis Ngannou. He is the best fighter in the world and is going to show the world again on March 8th. Virgil Hunter sat down to analyze the fight, and he definitely sees Francis Ngannou as a huge threat for Anthony. Virgil stated, "The Joshua that showed up to the last fight looked very good. He looked very sound, explosive, and fast. I do know that Francis is a physical specimen and he is cut from a different cloth. The way he's come up and how he's built, he's been physically strong since he was a youth. I expect Joshua to win, but it is a dangerous fight. As long as he's on his 2 feet, as long as he can punch, he is always a danger." Lennox Lewis doesn't blame Francis, but he's not happy with the state of the heavyweight division anymore. Lennox stated, "Hats off to Ngannou for making the most of his opportunities. He's done nothing wrong. This is just the heavyweight division in the year 2024. In my opinion, this fight adds 0 credibility to AJ's resume. He's supposed to win this fight, and when he does, what does he gain or learn by beating Ngannou in his second heavyweight fight? If he loses, then it's an absolute disaster. The same stood for Fury, and it almost cost him everything." Even Ricky Hatton believes that Francis could very well knock Anthony Joshua out if he plays his cards right. Ricky stated, "AJ is a very good boxer and is known for his explosiveness and his power, but you don't become become an Olympic gold medalist and a two-time heavyweight champion of the world without the ability that Joshua has. But on the downside, he can be hurt, knocked down, and stopped. And when you think of the size and punching power Ngannou has got, there's every chance he could knock AJ out. But the bigger picture is, Joshua is a very rounded, accomplished boxer. He's very skillful and heavy-handed, and it's the right time for him, because his confidence is sky-high from the past couple of performances. If he goes out there and impresses where Tyson didn't, it'll work more in his favor when they sit down on the negotiation table and try to make the Tyson-Fury fight. Carl Froch sat down to talk about the fight, and see it being a rather even fight, depending on how the fighters prepare.
Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou. Who would have thought? I mean, my initial thoughts are it's not a bad fight. It's a fight that Anthony Joshua could potentially struggle with. We saw him against Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury struggled. But was that because Ngannou's really good, or was that because Fury didn't quite turn up? He wasn't at the races. I think the latter. So now this fight's going to be acceptable because Ngannou did so well against Fury. But let's be honest, this is a cash grab out in Saudi Arabia. And I don't think it's good for heavyweight boxing.
Michael Bisping recently shared some thoughts on the upcoming super fight between Francis Ngannou and Anthony Joshua. Bisping stated, "We never really saw his chin tested." Mike Tyson said recently that he believes that Anthony Joshua wouldn't be able to land a glove on Tyson Fury, because Fury is just too elusive. So judging by that logic, if Francis could land on Fury, but Joshua couldn't, that means that he thinks Francis is faster, and he believes that Anthony Joshua, whilst packing a solid punch, is slow. Okay, and as we know, speed kills. The reality is, if Joshua does land and he does connect, there's a good chance that he knocks him out, Bisping said. That's one thing we haven't seen from Francis Ngannou. Even in the UFC when he was competing in mixed martial arts, we never really saw his chin tested. Yeah, he took some shots, but he mainly knocked everybody out. John Fury sent Anthony Joshua a warning about facing someone like Francis Ngannou, and he stated, "Ngannou is a big, strong fella. He's muscly, but he can also move. He's athletic, and if you're there, he'll take the top of your head straight off. And don't forget, he's a lot more powerful a man than Andy Ruiz Jr. When he gets you in trouble, you'll know about it, and he won't just do that with AJ. He'll do it to anybody out there." Jeff Mayweather definitely thinks that Anthony has a good chance of winning, whether he's preparing properly or not. He stated, "I think even if you take him extra seriously, I think that Francis still has a chance. I mean, the one thing that he got is the one thing that everybody wished they had in his power. And I think that at some point in the fight, he's gonna get caught by Francis, and he's gonna have to show him worth. Will give, more people hope. And, and not only that, and belief in themselves. But of course, being that, Francis comes straight from UFC to boxing and is putting this high position. I mean, a lot of people don't like it. But the thing is, this is that just like when they started YouTube boxing. Nobody liked it, but now it's okay. It's accepted. So, nothing wrong with Francis opening the door for other guys that, that probably don't have as much experience as these other fighters and do well. Daniel Cormier definitely believes that Francis Ngannou will come away with the win in this one.
I'm happy for Francis. When good things happen to people that have been through a lot, it really does fill you up. Now, he's got to do what he did last time, but he has to be a little bit more ferocious. Francis needs to be ferocious. He needs to intimidate him with size, and that's where Francis holds advantages. Because while these guys have boxed their whole life, Francis is not throwing his punches from the same ways that they're used to seeing their whole life. Now, on paper, should he win? Yes. He should beat a guy that is 0-1 in his professional boxing career. But as Francis Ngannou has shown time and time again, he don't play by the rules that everybody else play by. I was one of the people that just thought he had no chance against Tyson Fury. I don't know. You asked me this 6 months ago, I'd have said no chance. You asked me today, I think Francis has a chance. And I think Francis is going to get it done.
Barry Jones talked about what a win would mean for Anthony Joshua, and he sees big changes coming for both fighters. Barry stated, "If Fury beats Usyk in any shape or form, then he goes in the favor regardless, I think. And he should go in the favors because over the last few years, he's clearly been the better fighter. That's the truth of it. But if you're only, I've said this the other day and it's been a bit pedantic, but if you're only as good as your last fight, who is the best heavyweight in the world? I'm genuine. Who is? Do you say, maybe you say Joshua because he's had maybe the best performance, or would you say Joseph Parker because maybe he had the best performance? But then you wouldn't put him in front of either of those guys, the top 4 or 5 anyway. Parker, now all of a sudden he's an offering. Or Daniel Duval had a really good performance against Gerald Miller, but he was as good as Gerald Miller. So you have to judge the fight on his best versus his best. And even the Fury win that performed against Ngannou, you still thought Fury would do a job on Joshua because he lacked confidence. Now he's full of confidence. That's only one fight. so you can't judge someone on one fight, because otherwise we're saying Ngannou is a world-class fighter. And are we saying that? I don't know if we are, we sort of are, but with an asterisk of we're not quite sure how good he is, because we've only seen him against the heavy champion in the world who underperformed. Tune in on March 8th to witness the rumble in the desert and see who reigns supreme in the heavyweight division. Don't forget to share your predictions in the comments below.